So I released a video a couple days ago, and I'll throw it up right here. And it was all about somebody suffering through how to deal with their wife and their family not supporting them. Got a similar email from somebody who is wondering, how do I keep planning on certain stuff, and how, as she describes him, how do I deal with the man-child that is my husband? Love it. Roll it. Alright guys, so I have a great email that came in. It is something that I think everybody goes through, and I had the more dramatic email before, and now I got more of a logical, more structured person that is just fired up with their idea, and you know, they're making fun of their husband for the lack of the support. Again, planning is one of the topics that this video goes into, and this person is going through this scenario where they're like, okay, well, I'm planning, but at what point can I break it down enough to start growing? And in my videos, if you watch the other videos, I'll link some below on the planning, but and I go in the last video, I go deeply in it, but we want to take any idea we have, break it down to the point where we can sell it to a specific niche and start building cash flow so we can start expanding back up. The idea is very simple but hard to implement because our minds, we're creative creatures, so our mind goes out of control, and this is where planning comes in. If we actually create that plan, we stick to the plan, we don't deviate when somebody comes along and goes, hey, you should be doing this, and then you're like, oh, that's a great idea, and you jump to the next thing, you introduce that, and then you forget about what you were doing on the plan. Instead, if you do have this plan that's structured, you get these ideas, you line them up, and the plan has a timeline, so within that timeline you know what you're going to be doing, so you can start creating a secondary plan that can attach to the big plan, or an alternative like a plan B, you would say, and you can attach that on. So let me just jump in the email. Hi Nikos, your advice is spot on, but sometimes I feel you cut it too short. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing with the minutes and how much people are watching. I was wondering if you can explain more on planning in your startup while in a marriage. No problem. My husband supports me, but he seems to get frustrated more and more lately. I have always been a stay-at-home mom, and when I planned to go to work, I decided to start a business instead. Clearly he agreed with you, or else you wouldn't be doing it. It is coming along, and my idea is broken down like you said, but where do I go from here? That's easy. And what do I do with the man-child husband? I laugh every time. I picture you saying it. All right, so when we're looking at the scenario of, we'll keep two separate things here. Going back to breaking down the idea. You've created your idea, you've broken it down, so you have that staging for where you want to be. So in the book, Ideas to Profits, I go into the next stages where you want to take your idea now and start looking at your niche of who you want to attract. Everybody tries to get everybody, and when we go to market to everybody, we often fail. Now, why does that occur? Well, there's too many people, and you can't specialize directly to a group of people to attract. It is much easier to look at it from that perspective. So if I was going to start up another company and say bookkeeping, I would go out and I would specifically go to a certain industry and go to everybody in that field. Say it was restaurants, say it was, I don't know, painters, if it was draftspeople, if it was, you know, web design guys, and I would market directly to them. Why? Because it's very easy, or I should say easier, to market to that one niche group than anybody advertising that I do bookkeeping. That being said, okay, some people go the other route and they do advertise to everybody, and that's based on budget. If you have the budget and you have the money, then yeah, you don't need to do this. When I broke down the book, I really thought about the average person that has an idea and they want to try it out to see how is it going to achieve what, you know, they had in their vision in reality, right? So comparing to the two, we always have something in our vision. We always have these thoughts. We know where we want to go. But then when reality strikes, we realize that it's not going to be the same. And this happens all the time. And usually it's more work that needs to go into it, refinement of the idea, refinement of the plan, and then execution strategy. And you realize, okay, I got to change up some things. Right now, I'm being overworked, and I know that, so I had to cut back on a few things in order to start providing this on a daily basis. Okay, so when we look at your idea, you've taken it, you've broken it down. Let's now start planning on how we're gonna advertise. What do we need to do to advertise? List everything off, and let's go and do some test approaches, say Facebook or Instagram or whatever way you want to approach based on the business model you have on how you want to bring in clients, and you go and you do a test market. I can tell you I've spent a lot of money just getting my colors together for Mentors Approach, the book, Ideas to Profits, because I tried all these different things, and in one trial it was all men, in another trial it was all females, and then I should have said males and then females. And then from there, I did one color that kind of mixed match, and it was a 60-40. I did another test on it based on the wording, and all of a sudden it came more even. And I wanted to get as close as I could to that 50-50 mark, and I tested this out by buying Facebook ads and checking out the certain markets that I wanted to attract. And this is how we get that data, the valuable data of if it's going to work. Now, other people, you could go to certain people that are gurus, pay them some money, they'll be able to tell you specifically. I like to do my own tests of what I want to do, how I want to do them. I get opinions from people, and then I really structure my decision based on that. The process, although, a lot of people will say it's tedious, it takes time, this, that. I spend a lot of time because I'm picky and I want to be happy with what I'm doing. And I know if I do that, I'll be more inclined to do more to succeed. Putting something together just doesn't work for me, and it doesn't go the route I want it to go for the end result, from the vision of what I want in my head to the reality. Now, when you get into this marketing, we start marketing, the idea comes that it starts to expand. So all those little things that you wanted to add, all those ideas that people gave for your main idea, you now are going back. So you've broken it back down to its basics, and now you're going back up to that higher level idea that you wanted to do, but you phase it out. So each iteration of the product or the service, each certain new service you're going to be providing, for example, is broken up over a period of months or maybe even per year. Okay, it's all based on the product and how the product is moving. You're not gonna see somebody like Jinjung announced a gimbal, and they went from one gimbal that was for the low-end cameras, and then they went to the next one. They had what was it? It was they released a crane, and then they released a V2. And it was just kind of like everybody got confused, and they released the Crane 2, and they did all these iterations, and then I ended up buying the Crane 2 because I really wanted the heavy duty one, because I don't know what I'm going to be doing with my cameras next. Am I going to buy a better camera that's heavier? And these all things went on weight. But they did a great job of confusing people to the point where they could create a stir up on social media and start jumping into the market. I think they did a wonderful job in causing confusion. Did they have to go that route? Well, no. They're making a great product, and I think it was going to take off either way. Their communication issues are hard to deal with, and you try to get in touch with them and you can't. And if they improve that, they'd be a great company. And that's part of that idea building, where you go, what do I need to do next in order to be successful with growing the business and growing the clientele, and they stick around long term. Will communication be a factor for me in the future? Most likely with this company. This is just one of the examples. I can go on and on with even big companies, even banks, for instance, who have the 24-hour support the credit cards do, and then they're related to the bank, and then you can't get in touch with the bank, and then you're dealing with this and that, and you want to go to the bank that has the best service, and out of the top 5 in Canada, they all provide good service, but what's the best experience that you've had? And recently for me it was Scotiabank, and then all of a sudden TD picked up its game, but then they did a crash and fall with me in a scenario, and now Scotiabank is still the top one for me, right? And that's because you pick up the phone and they pick up the phone. You're literally ding-a-ling, hey, what's going on? Where the other ones you're waiting half an hour, 45 minutes sometimes. And this is where the idea is expanding, right? So we look at these bigger companies and we can say, okay, eventually I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And we keep going. So where you had this idea and you broke it down, and it was like the idea was this big thing, we brought it down to this point. Now we're going to start building back up. And at this point, we're going to start adding in iterations, and at the same time, we're going to be going out to different niches. So my goal would be if say you were a bookkeeper and you were going to go for restaurants, well, all right, what's the next closest thing to restaurants? And let's look at that niche, because now I can network that over easier. Then we jump to the next one and the next and the next. And as you do that, all of a sudden, your business starts improving in the cash flow and you start growing at a quicker pace. At the same time, you're growing the vision of the idea even more and more. And over the phases, you can invest more money to actually get more things done properly. And the reality comes down to you wanting to take that money that you're making and put it back into the business, and how much do you actually need in your pocket and how much do you need to put back into the business. If you need certain technology, if you need certain things, how are you going to do that and how are you going to address that? And do you want to go get a loan? Do you want to put yourself in debt, or do you want to take more time with the phases to grow out your product or service as you go? Very simple stuff, but hard to implement, hard to picture. The best way to go about everything I just talked about is create that plan, create that secondary add-on plans that you can add on as you start going in those phases. I will go get whiteboards and just start writing and have those to look at every single day, so you don't fall off that plan direction that you have. And what this will do, and once you put these goals into place in this manner of how you're going to expand the idea, now you can go back to your husband and deal with your husband. Your husband is going to continue to get miserable seeing you progress and not see that ultimate success of what your business was supposed to do. And that's normal with anybody. Clearly, you've communicated to him and he supported you to get to this point. So logically, he's not one of those people that is filled with drama, and kind of like that last video where, it was filled with drama and, just craziness. You have the support, you have people there by your side, and all you need to do is express and keep reiterating the new plan. Include him in the opportunity that you have here. Include him in the adventure that you're going through, okay? And while you're doing it, focus on what is causing this turbulence in him and really communicate with that. What I've found with a lot of people is that they start working on their business and the spouse is sitting there, or the significant other or the partner is sitting there, and they're going, pay attention to me, you're not paying attention to me, you're paying too much attention to your newfound love, and that it's not me. And most of the time they're not even doing it like they know they're doing it. It's just a subconscious thing that is occurring, and that's that, right? So what we want to do is look back and say to ourselves, okay, what occurred during that time when I started the business and all the wonderful moments I was having as this was continuing. And when you are at that stage where you find a couple of things that you were doing, maybe you were spending more time, maybe there was like a dedicated night or a dedicated couple nights. Maybe this whole thing is because, he was used to having food, then he was like, made, because you're a stay-home mom, and maybe you were making all the food, and then this is just a scenario, and then all of a sudden you decided, I'm going to start this business, and now he's having to come home and make the food. And in his mind, he was okay with it because he thought, it's business, so she's going to start it, and then it's going to take off, and then we're going to go back to that normal way of life. And it's taken too long. It's not where it's supposed to be. In his head, he might have envisioned something different based on what you communicated to him. So let's take a step back and we look at what was happening before, that he was okay with it. What was the communication you expressed with them on what is going to be occurring? And let's look at what he perceived to be, in his mind, what you expressed. And those are the three things you would do. And now I would give him this video. I would show him this video and tell him, like, hey, this is what Nikos is telling you to do. And really communicate this out. Like, it looks like he's a stand-up guy and, you know, he's supported you so far. That's why I'm saying that. So this is awesome. Give this video to him and be like, watch this. And then what you want to do is, with this new plan you've developed, and maybe he wants to participate in the plan, take the plan and go, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is how I'm going to be doing every step of the way. And I want you to be inclusive in this. So what do you need from me so you're not miserable? Clearly, you stayed home for a while. Financially, you guys are probably doing okay and you're good. So there's no rush on the business. That's why you probably started this and you weren't in a rush to go back to work. So it's probably not to do with money. If it was, maybe you have to figure out something to do with money. But maybe there's these little small things that he's missing that he needs that you're not giving anymore. And he needs to deal with that. And he's trying to figure it all out and he doesn't know how to express himself. And that's where this, like, you know, pondering around and this nagging comes, and you're calling him a man-child, which is totally awesome, by the way. I love that. And this is how it is. So take the time, do that. And your plan will start growing, flourishing, and you'll know what to do next and jump around. Join the Facebook group and we can talk more about you know, what you're doing. We can give you more concrete ideas with more direct conversation. And of course, for everybody out there, if you have any questions, please log on to mentorsapproach.com and just submit a YouTube response and with your situation, your problem, and see how we can help. The reason I do these videos is so that we can grow together and get that opportunity to see how things work in other people's lives and what we could do to make things better. Like, subscribe, and of course share with anybody who would find value in this.